There's an old saying that April showers bring May flowers. It certainly rains a lot in April. And there certainly are a lot of flowers in May. Although if you look close, there are some flowers in April as well. So April showers bring April flowers, like this white trillium, the state wildflower of Ohio. This is blooming in the national park, and I took this picture earlier this week, last week of April. These leaves have a telltale pattern of mottled spots, reminiscent, some people say, of the side of a fish, a trout fish. And when in bloom, you can see the yellow lily flower, and that's why this is called the trout lily, Erythronium americanum. Commonly found around our neighborhoods are the common dandelion. Some people think of them as weedy pests, but in reality, they're a very important pollen source and nectar source for our pollinators in the early spring. Fruit trees are beginning to blossom as well at this time of year, and here's the blossom of a pear tree with a honeybee right in the midst. We try to mimic these patterns of nature when we grow plants in trays inside. These tiny seedlings are kept moist to mimic the April showers, and we allow them to grow until they are big enough to be transplanted later on in May. Hence, the May flowers. Checking in with our plants again this week, we see that they continue to grow and get bigger and add leaves. At this point, I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 leaves. And I see the beginnings of leaf number 7 and leaf number 8 as well. So, good progress from our Mexican sunflowers here. You may remember that some of our flowers did not germinate. That means they didn't start to grow. I don't know why those seeds didn't grow. This one did, but these two did not. And that's all right. Sometimes these things happen, and with gardening, we just replant. So I kept my seed envelope from before, and I got some of the extra seeds out. And I'm going to put 2 of them in each cup. I'm going to push them just below the soil. Cover them up and press it down. Notice they're not very deep because they're not very big seeds. Little seeds can't go too deep. There's a seashell in this cup. My daughter put it in there for decoration. I like it. So if ever you have seeds that don't come up, just try again. That's a good process. And now we'll give these another shot. And I'm going to write the date, our second date on here. Today is April the 28th. April the 29th is today, the day I'm filming. Moving down the line, here's our cilantro. These plants are growing so close together and so thick that they're not going to be able to be transplanted. See how long and thin those stems are? That's called getting leggy. It means that they've been competing too much for resources like sun and water and space. So what I'll end up doing is, since this is a kitchen herb, the cilantro, we'll cut off here and use these sprouts, and it can go right on top of some soup or maybe on top of a taco for Taco Tuesday. And then we can replant cilantro. This is a good time of year to plant cilantro outside too. My little tomato plant. That one needs to wait until at least the middle of May before we transplant outside. Next week or the week after, we'll talk a little bit more about how to transplant. And here's another leggy plant. This sunflower has really grown long, but not very strong. I think we started it too soon. Sunflowers are a big deal summertime plant. So I think I'm going to try to transplant it outside, but I'm also going to plan to plant some more seeds this week and next week. And then they'll be ready by the middle of May or the end of May to be planted outside when they're still strong and not so tall and leggy and stringy like these ones are. Finally, 2 more plants, just because they're so interesting the way they grow. Look at this vine. It's from a bean plant. And there's the next set of leaves there. Down here's some earlier sets of leaves. You can see how much bigger they are. And they all are coming from this little plant. If I do transplant this one outside of the garden, it'll continue to vine and wrap around any sticks or poles it can reach to climb higher and higher and get more sunshine. If I keep it inside, well, that could be interesting too. I think it will grow better outside. And lastly, some of our flowers for our pollinators. These tiny little marigold plants are still quite small, but they get the telltale leaf shape of the marigold plant. You can see those jagged edges on some of the leaves. So when do we transplant our plants out to our outside area? Well, our average last frost date is May 4th, but this is just an average. It's a lot safer to wait until the middle of May. Some people say Mother's Day, others say May 15th or 16th. Although our latest frost has even been May 26th. So why all this talk about frost? Well, frost can kill a lot of tender young plants. And many of our plants that are summer loving do best after that danger has passed. Now this isn't true for cool season crops. The plants on this list do well when planted in our area in April and early May. They like cooler weather and tolerate a little bit of frost. But many of our summertime favorites will die and are very frost sensitive. And so these need to wait until at least the middle of May in our part of the world. Through completing our Prairie Habitat Project, we're participating in a relationship between plants and animals that is as old as the plants and animals have existed themselves. Pollinators get their food from the nectar and pollen produced by these flowers, but the plants also get a service in return. They get their genetic material spread from one plant to another. And for a living thing that can't walk or move in other ways, it's very important for this to happen. This is the way that plants produce sexually. And sexual reproduction involves the mixing of genetics from one individual with the mixing of genetics from another individual. It gives a unique combination. It's why you look a little bit like your dad and a little bit like your mom, but exactly like neither one of them. You are a unique combination. And plants benefit from this too. As the genetics are mixed, then the plant can evolve and continue to grow as a population. So you see, the plants depend on the animals the same as the animals depend on the plants. The plants provide food for the pollinating animals, and the pollinating animals help facilitate the reproduction of the plants. So as the pollinators and the plants interact, unique seeds are produced. And these seeds are viable and can grow into a new plant. However, the longer you store them, the less chance you have that they will, in fact, germinate or grow. Our project this week is going to look at studying the germination rate of seeds, because both of these seed packets are about 5 years old. I found them and they're from 2015. And I want to know, are they worth growing? Will they indeed sprout and germinate and grow into new bean plants and turnip greens? Or are they too old and do they need to be thrown out? For our materials, I'll need the seeds, some paper towels, some water, and some plastic bags with a seal at the top. And I used a Sharpie to label the name for beans and the date, 4/29. Today is April 29th. Or in this case, turnip greens, also dated for today, April 29th. So the first step to calculate our germination rate is to take a paper towel, and we're going to get this paper towel wet. Not dripping wet, but moist. Dip that in our water, we'll pull it out, and then we're going to squeeze out the extra water. Then we're going to open up that paper towel and place 10 seeds in question inside the paper towel. I've got a bunch of these bean seeds, and I want to know if they're still good 5 years later. So we'll lay the paper towel down. We'll place 10 bean seeds on the paper towel. Keep them all on this side down here. It's going to fold like that. Once we have the 10 seeds in there, we're going to fold the paper towel over them. And we're going to place that folded up paper towel inside our plastic bag. The paper towel will keep the seeds moist, and the plastic bag will keep the moisture inside the bag so it doesn't get away. We're going to end up taping this in a window. We'll see that later. For right now, we're going to seal the bag and set it on the table. And we're going to repeat our project with these much smaller seeds of the turnip greens. So the first step is still to get the paper towel wet. Squeeze out the extra water so it's moist but not soaking wet. Open up the paper towel. And now we're going to put the 10 seeds on that paper towel, all down at one end. Again, we'll fold the paper towel up, and having 10 seeds is important to calculate our germination rate. We'll fold it and fold it again so it fits in the bag. And once it's sealed, we're going to tape it to the window and allow the moisture and the sunlight and the warmth to inspire these seeds to germinate or begin to grow. So we'll keep these seeds in our window this week, and at the end of the week, when we get together again, we'll check out how many have sprouted, and we'll learn to calculate our germination rate. So until then, have a great weekend and a great week, and keep on growing. We'll talk to you again next week. Check in on our Prairie Project.